All right, so these are the questions that we are going to try in today's video. If you have tried it already from the thumbnail, good enough. If you haven't, you can pause the video at this point and try it once before you look into the solutions. We recommend you doing that. But if you just want to enjoy the solution, that's also good enough. And go ahead and watch the solutions now. Well, we have a question regarding remainders and all. Now, LCM in these kind of questions becomes an important understanding. So I'll come to that when that is required. So there are a couple of things which are important from the question point of view. We are looking for 4-digit numbers. Do not forget this. Which when divided by 3, 5, 6, 8, leave a remainder of this thing respectively. So that is our second part. So we'll start with the second part actually, and then we'll come back to the 4-digit thing. So let's start with the second part. So first of all, let us say that the number is n. So this when divided by 3 leaves a remainder of 1, right? So this is given to us. So that n divided by 3, the remainder should be 1. Now, just think about the line number, by the way. So if you focus on the line number, so wherever this n is, let's say here, this divided by 3 leaves a remainder of 1. If you understand the basic idea of remainders, so you will understand quickly that if I move one step back, so I move one number behind it, left side, so I'll get a multiple of 3, right? So that is the idea of remainders. Not only that, if I move 2 steps forward, I'll have another multiple of 3 because these two multiples of 3 will have a difference of 3, right? You can check here, 1 plus 2 is actually 3. So if I move 2 steps forward or 1 step back, I'll get a multiple of 3. Similarly, if this number is divided by 5, the second part, if I divide by 5, the remainder should be 3, right? So in this case, the remainder should be 3. So again, if I take the number here, let's say, so if I go 3 steps back, the number should be a multiple of 5, whatever number we get. If I go 2 steps forward, so I'm just trying to make this, this difference as 5. So there is 3 here, so there should be 2 more, right? So if I go 2 steps forward, I should again have a multiple of 5, right? Now notice something that is evident from this particular illustration as well as this particular illustration. So from this number, if I move 2 steps forward, I'm getting a multiple of 3 as well as a multiple of 5. So what it means is this n plus 2, if from the number I'm moving 2 steps forward. So n plus 2, this number is a multiple of 3 as well as a multiple of 5, right? So now we are generating a bit of pattern. So let's continue this. So we have the next information: when divided by 6, the remainder is 4. So again, notice the same thing. If the remainder is 4, so if I move 4 steps back from the number, that should be a multiple of 6. So 2 more steps forward, that is a total of 6 here, 4 plus 2. So that is multiple of 6, right? So again, this n plus 2 should be a multiple of 6 as well. Similarly, if I check the last information, divided by 8, the remainder is 6. Same idea, 6 steps back, 2 steps forward, because dividing by 8, right? So this is a multiple of 8. So n plus 2 is also a multiple of 8. So now what we know is this n plus 2. So let me write this a little bit properly. So this is a multiple of 6 and a multiple of 8, right? So this n plus 2 is actually a multiple of all of these numbers, right? This 3, 5, 6, and 8. So now comes that understanding of LCM. So let me just quickly take this off. And what we can say is, if n plus 2 is a multiple of 3, a multiple of 5, a multiple of 6, and a multiple of 8, then n plus 2 should be a multiple of the LCM of all of these numbers, 3, 5, 6, 8, and all. So it has to be a multiple of all of these numbers LCM. I mean, I'm not going into the details of it. It's a very easy one to understand. I have discussed these kind of things in our classes, but it's a very easy one to understand. So it should be a multiple of LCM of 3, 5, 6, 8. Now, you should be able to understand one thing here. I'm ignoring this 6 when I'm calculating the LCM, because if it is a multiple of 3 and a multiple of 8, it automatically becomes a multiple of 6, right? And since this 3, 5, 8 are all mutually co-prime, so I can just multiply 3, 5, 8. So 3 into 5 into 8 is 120, 8 into 5 is 40 into 3. So effectively what we know is n plus 2 should be a multiple of 120. Now we'll take this idea into account, and then we'll focus on this 4-digit numbers and try to count them in the simplest manner possible. So let me quickly take everything off. Just let me keep this and carry on with the rest of the explanation. Okay, so we already have obtained this, that n plus 2 is a multiple of 120. And now let us focus on the 4-digit numbers. So first of all, whenever you're looking for a multiple of a number for any number of digits, think about the easiest one that you know of. By the way, do not forget that we are counting cases for n, not for n plus 2, but we'll start with n plus 2 and then we'll come to n. So for multiple of 120, which is the 4-digit number you can think of, which is a multiple of 120, 1200, right? I hope that is a number that hits you. If you got 1080, brilliant, but then 1200 should be instant, right? I mean, you don't have to think anything. So here, if you have 1200 as a multiple of 120, if I subtract 120 from it, it remains a 4-digit number. If I subtract 240, it becomes a 3-digit number, right? So check this out. When 200 minus 240 is negative, so 1000 minus a negative will become a 3-digit number, right? So effectively, I can subtract 120 from it, but not 240. So this should happen mentally itself. So I'm doing this simplest way possible. And now check this out. I don't have to calculate this. This is 120 into 10, and this is 120 into 1. So what I know is if I have 120 into 9, this is acceptable as a 4-digit number. But what you have to do is, as we are counting the cases for n, the n comes out by subtracting 2 from this, right? Because this part is n plus 2. So if n plus 2 is this much, the n should be this entire thing, isn't it? But in this case also, 200 minus 120 minus 2 is still positive. So 1200 minus 120 minus 2 will remain a 4-digit number. So if I take this number as n plus 2, so in turn, n is equal to something like this. This is still a 4-digit number, acceptable, right? So the smallest 4-digit number, easily obtainable. Similarly, we can easily obtain the smallest 5-digit number also, right? So let's think about the smallest 5-digit number. So smallest 5-digit number, again, start with the easiest one you can think of, that is 12,000. Now keep subtracting. So in this case, see, I'm not supposed to count 5-digit numbers, right? So why did I start with smallest 5-digit number? So if I come back, the point at which I just hit a 4-digit number, that should be the largest 4-digit number, right? So just keep subtracting multiples of 120 from this. First thing you should be able to notice is something like 2400 subtracted is definitely, a 4-digit number, right? This is 12,000 minus 2,000 will be 10,000. So 2,400 obviously reduces it to a 4-digit number. But this is not necessarily the smallest one, right? So let me manipulate a little bit. So let me add back something to this. So if I add 240 to this, it still remains a 4-digit, no issues. If I add 360 to this, so I'm just focusing on this 400. As soon as I add something more than 400, it should go back to a 5-digit number, right? So 360 added is still acceptable. 480 added will take it back to 5 digits. So I can add 360. That is not an issue, isn't it? And again, check this out. I mean, this is the value of n plus 2. So in order to get n, I need to subtract another 2 from this, right? So this is the number we are looking for, the highest one. Again, use the multiples of 120 that you know of. This is 120 into 100. This is 120 into 20. This is 120 into 3. And this is minus to leave it as that. So just focus on this part. So this is 100 times minus 20 times. So that is 80 times plus 3 times. So that is 83 times, right? So the largest number you can get is 120 into 83 minus this 2, right? So this is the largest value of n. So this is the minimum n 4-digit, and this is the maximum n 4-digit. Now, the reason I put it in this way, the rest of the counting is very simple. You just have to count how many numbers are there from 9 to 83, because this will be a pattern, right? 120 into 9 minus 2, 120 into 10 minus 2, 120 into 11 minus 2. So all you have to do is figure out how many numbers from 9 to 83 exist. So 9 to 83, how many natural numbers that is, are effectively 75 numbers, right? Difference plus 1. So in this case, the answer is option D. So the counting should be as simplified as possible. This seems like I've done a lot of steps, but this is very fast. If you try it yourself in these kind of questions, you'll observe that this becomes very, very fast to calculate with, because this 12,000, this 2,400, and this 360 is not tough to do. I mean, just write these numbers. I mean, just write this on the paper. Maintain the levels properly so that it's visually easy to understand. So this is a 5-digit. So focus on this part now. Then again, when you're coming back to this, focus on this part now. So it becomes a little easy to visually understand. So yeah, that's all for this particular question. I hope everything was understood. This is a very interesting question. So we have we are looking for the number of ordered pairs of positive integers m and op. Okay, ordered. I hope you're aware of it. So if I have forget about the constraint. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4 as a solution and 2, 1, 3, 4 as a solution. So for ordered, by the way, this should not be pairs. By the way, ordered quadruplets or something. Ordered solutions of positive integers. That should be the terminology. So ordered solutions of positive integers m and op. So both 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2, 1, 3, 4 is acceptable. So you should be able to count it. If we're looking for unordered solution, so 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2, 1, 3, 4 are the same solution. So the order doesn't matter, something like that. In ordered solution, the order matters. Unordered, the order doesn't matter. So enough with the terminology. Let me get into the question. Let me clear this up. Okay, so I've made that correction also. How many ordered solutions are there such that this LCM of these 4 numbers is 185 or something, right? So whenever you have this question, LCM is this, lot of different types are applicable. First thing you have to understand is what is the meaning of it. So if I say that M and OP have an LCM of 185, the first thing that it should strike you is that M, N, O, P, each of these have to be factors of 185, right? If they are not factors, how can the LCM be 185? So every number is, I mean, if I say A is a multiple of B, then B has to be a factor of A, right? That's simple logic. So LCM is this, implies that they are factors. So whenever there's something related to factors, I mentioned this a lot of times in our classes, always focus on the prime numbers. That is the basis of factors. So just factorize this as this 185, the prime factorization, that is. This is a simple one. You have 5 into 37, right? Now, what are we looking for in this question? So one thing is M and OP have to be factors of 185. So they have to be factors of 5 into 37. So in other words, for each of this M, N, O, and P, so for each of these, the power of 5 should be either 0 or 1, and power of 37 should be either 0 or 1, right? In order to be factors. So let's first quickly figure this out, how many possibilities are there. So for each of the M, N, O, and P, the power of 5 will have 2 possibilities, either 0 or 1, right? So there are corresponding possibilities, by the way. So we have 2 to the power 4 possibilities for distributing the powers of 5, and 2 to the power 4 possibilities, possible ways of distributing the power of 37. But check this out. Since the LCM has to be 5 into 37, what if I have distributed all of these to 5 to the power 0? So for example, in M, I've given 5 to the power 0. In N, I've given 5 to the power 0. Every power of 5 that I've distributed is 0. In that case, the LCM will not be 5, right? I mean, LCM will be 5 to the power 0. It will never be 5 to the power 1. So effectively, the case in which I'm distributing 0 to all of them, that has to be subtracted. Same logic for 37 also, right? I mean, 37 to the power 0 to everything is not allowed. So these are the number of ways I can distribute the powers of 5 and powers of 37 to M and OP, such that the LCM is 185, right? So, and since they are different primes, so these are corresponding cases. So just multiply these two. 2 to the power 4 minus 1 is 15, by the way. So we have 15 into 15 as 225 as our answer, option B. So this is the idea behind these kind of questions. I'll just take a minute to explain something advanced to this. So let's say in this question, we had the LCM. So if we have the LCM as 925, let's say, so 925, if you check, that is 5 square into 37. So the only difference will happen in distributing the powers of 5. So power of 5, if I distribute, ideally I could distribute 0 or 1 or 2, right? So there are 3 possibilities for each of the numbers. So 3 to the power 4 from that. But if I distribute 0 or 1 to each of them, so for example, to M, I distribute 5 to the power 0 or 5 to the power 1. For N, I distribute 5 to the power 0 or 5 to the power 1. For O also same thing. For P also same thing. So nowhere we have that 5 square, right? So the LCM will never become 5 square. So in that case, we have to take those cases off. So what are those cases? So for each of these M, N, O, and P, we have 2 powers of 5 which are distributed. One of these 2 powers, right? 0 or 1. So you have to take off those cases. So minus 2 to the power 4. So we have 3 to the power 4 minus 2 to the power 4 as the possible ways of distributing powers of 5. So small variation out here. So we can apply the same logic and we can quickly figure it out. Yeah. So that's all from my side related to this question. I hope everything was understood. Okay. So we have 2 numbers whose sum is 528 and HCF is 33. So you have to find the number of pairs of such numbers, right? So this is a very generic kind of question. So whenever you have the HCF as 33, so what you should understand is that each of the numbers have to be a multiple of 33, right? So I can consider the first number to be 33A or something, and the second number to be 33B or something, where A and B are integers. And more importantly, A and B should be co-prime to each other. I hope you are aware of what are co-prime. The HCF should be 1. The reason being, so suppose A is 2 and B is 14, something like that. So if I pick up A as 2 and B as 14, so this number is 33 into 2 and this number is 33 into 14. Now you will find that the HCF of these two is actually 33 into 2, which is 66, right? So the HCF is not 33. This is what the question is telling us. The HCF has to be 33, not a multiple of 33, right? So effectively what we know is A and B have to be co-prime to each other. And by the way, this is something I mentioned in our classes a lot of times. Just read this question. You'll not find any variables mentioned, right? So this A and B is something we have taken for understanding purpose. So here there are no variables mentioned, right? And we're looking for number of pairs of such numbers. So in this question, it has not been mentioned whether we are looking for ordered pairs or unordered pairs, right? So effectively, whenever you have a question like that, what you need to understand is we are looking for unordered solution. What I mean by that is, so if sum of 2 numbers is this and the HCF is whatever. So if I take, so let me take an example. So say I take 2 numbers as 33 and 495. So if I take these 2 numbers, now instead of taking this, if I consider 495 and 33, since variable names are not being mentioned, these two are the same solution, isn't it? We are taking the same 2 numbers. We are taking the same pair. But if there were variable names, so suppose the question would have said there are 2 numbers A and B, where A plus B is 528 and HCF of A and B is 33. So as long as explicitly something has not been mentioned, assigning A to 33 and B to 495 ideally should be different from assigning A to 495 and B to 33, right? So that's where you take ordered solutions. So in this case, since there are no variable names mentioned, we should be looking for unordered solution, or don't repeat the solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to consider A less than B. So if I do that, then automatically I don't repeat it, right? So I will consider 33, 495, but not the other way around. So let's carry on with this. So now the other information, that is the sum of the numbers is 528, right? So these two added should be equal to 528. Rest should be easy. You have a plus b is equal to 16. There is a method to actually do this. I'm not going into details of that. What in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to brute force figure it out. Just keep one thing in mind: if A and B are co-prime to each other, then A has to be co-prime to 16 and B has to be co-prime to 16 as well. Just consider numbers which are not multiples of 16. 16 has only 2 as a prime factor, right? So consider everything else. So 1, 3, 5, 7, all of these are allowed. So 15, 13, 11 and 9, these are the corresponding values of B, by the way. And notice I stopped at the 7 because as soon as I move ahead of half of 16, so A will become greater than B, right? So I stopped at something less than 8. So I stopped at A as 7. So these are the 4 solutions which are acceptable. So option C is our answer here. So I wanted to give you a detailed picture of understanding this question rather than mugging it up. I could have given you this answer in a lot of, quickly without explaining a lot of things. I hope you take away something, the basic ideas properly from this question. So don't mug it up with the very logical ideas, nothing to mug up. You just need to understand the meaning of HCF, what is the essence of co-prime numbers. So those kind of things you have to understand. I mean, in this case, specifically the ordered and unordered thing that I talked about, these kind of things we have discussed in a lot of questions in our classes. So by repetition over and over and over the time, these things, gets grassroots. I mean, it gets very deeply, I'm missing that word, engrossed in your mind, so that you don't have to mug it up, but you understand it in a more detailed manner. But yeah, that's all from my side for this question. I hope everything was understood. Thank you for joining in. Before I start discussing this question, this is something I have mentioned in our classes. Let me give you the factorization of two very interesting numbers. 1001, that is one more than 1000, and 999, that is one less than 1000. So these two are sometimes very useful in these kind of questions. So these are the two factorization. 1001 is 7 into 11 into 13. These are the 4th to 6th prime numbers. So 2, 3, 5 are the first three. After that, you have 7, 11, 13, right? So 7 into 11 into 13 is 1001. And 999, you can remember in this way. 111 is definitely a multiple of 3. You can divide it by 3, you get 37. Now, once you multiply 9 to both the sides, so multiply 9 to 919, 111, you get this 999. And when you multiply 9 on the right side, multiply it to this 3, because 3 and 9 have prime factors 3 only, right? So just keep just 27. So these are a couple of factorization which is useful in certain questions. Mostly this 1001. I mean, I've used this 1001 idea in a lot of different questions, especially in divisibilities of 7 and 13 also. The way I use divisibilities of 7 and 13, you will understand in this question. It becomes very useful. So let me show you this very smart way. This is a very logical one and very, very smart one, smart way to look at this question. So first of all, what is the essence of this 1001? So if you notice the question, the basis out here is 5 3s and 5 4s, right? So if I have, let's say 6 3s, now this is something you should understand once, which you understand this once, you don't have to remember it. So if you have the 6 3s, just break it into something like this, this 3 3s and this 3 3s, right? So what you get is something like this, 333 into 1000 plus 333, right? This is the number mathematically. And that comes out to be 333 into 1001, right? Now check this out. Since this number, I mean, this is what the factorization is of. So if this number is a multiple of 1001, it should be a multiple of 7, 11 as well as 13, right? So let's focus on 7. So if I have 6 3s, that is definitely a multiple of 7, right? Similarly, if I have 6 4s, now you should understand that should also be a multiple of 7, because it's a multiple of 1001. So using this idea, now check this out, this becomes very interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first indicate this 3 3 3 3 3, this 5 5 3s as A. So just bear with me. So think about how to transfer from here to here. There are two ways we can do that. One way is we plug in a 3 on the leftmost side. The other way is we plug in a 3 on the rightmost side. Now, the rightmost side might seem a little funny to you, but that is the smartest way to do. So it's very easy to do. Multiply this entire thing by 10 first. So you get 10a. And then, so as soon as you do this 10a, so you're having a 0 at the end, right? Now, once you add a 3 to this, this becomes this 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, right? Now, what is the reason I'm doing this? So check this out. So I already know that this number is divisible by 7, right? So effectively, this should also be divisible by 7. So think about the smallest a which satisfies this. Now check this number out. This is definitely ending with a 3. Think of the smallest number which is a multiple of 7 and has a last digit of 3. So this 3 is the vital point here. 63 should immediately hit you, right? So what you can now say is a divided by 7 should have a remainder of 6. This is very fast, actually. If you understand this idea, let me just do this once without writing for the second part. So just check this out. So you have this 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. So to add a 4 in the end, I have to make it as 10n plus 4, something like that, right? So 10n plus 4 should be a multiple of 7, or forget about 10n plus 4. Think about a 2-digit number, which is a 2 or whatever. I mean, a number which is a multiple of 7 and has a last digit of 4. 14 should immediately hit you, isn't it? So if it is 14, so using the same idea, this 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, when divided by 7 should leave a remainder of 1, right? So let me write this down. And I hope that was understood. So let me just take this off quickly. Yeah, so same idea. So let's consider this as B, just for explanation, if you did not understand. So 10b plus 4 should be a multiple of 7, same idea, because 10b plus 4 will be 6 fours. 6, any digit repeated has to be multiple of 7. That is something we understood. So B should be leaving a remainder of 1, right? So this becomes 14, and that becomes a multiple of 7. So effectively, we get this remainder of A and B very quickly without even manipulating anything. So this is a very easy way to figure this out. I mean, this is useful in a lot of different questions. So coming back to the problem. So now we know the individual remainders, right? So in these kind of cyclicity kind of questions, the objective is always to find the remainder of +1 or -1, right? So we know that A, when divided by 7, the remainder is 6, but under 7, under the modulo of 7, so under the congruency of 7, or when you divide a number by 7, the negative remainder is 6 minus 7, that is -1, right? So the remainder is -1, so we get that as required. And B divided by 7, the remainder is anyhow 1, so let's leave it at that. So the entire thing, the given number, so this is A to the power 4, 4, 4, 4, whatever. So you have -1 raised to a even number. I care about even in this case because if there's a -1 out here. Plus this part is 1, that is this B, raised to whatever, right? Because 1 raised to whatever, the remainder will be 1 any which way. So in this case, the remainder is 1 plus 1, which is 2 as our answer, option C. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on explaining that remainder finding thing. If this doesn't hit you, there are also other ways to figure this out. Let me just show you one other way if this is something you found difficult to understand. So for example, if you check this A thing out, remember that 1001 idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this as 33 into 1000 plus 333. Now the interesting thing is this 1000 is 1001 minus 1, right? Something like this. So you have something like this. This part you already know is a multiple of 7 because 1001 is a multiple of 7. So ignore this. So what you have is 333 minus 33, which is 300. So divide 300 by 7, that becomes easy to understand. And by the way, don't worry too much about these kind of things. Just take out comfortable multiples of 7. So for example, 300, you can write it as 280 plus 20, right? So 20, you can write it as 14 plus 6. Or if you want to get the negative remainder directly, you can do that. 280 plus 20 is 300. So write it as 280 plus 21 minus 1. So you quickly get the remainder as -1. So there are a lot of different ways to figure out the remainder. This is the one that I showed initially is actually very, very quick in this particular question. So I started with that. If that doesn't hit you, you can definitely use this approach as well. So that's it for this question, everything that I had to add for this. Thank you for joining in.
Hopefully, you liked the solutions we provided for these questions. And if you did like it, do not forget to like the video and share, subscribe, and comment. Do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon. In that case, you'll get notification as soon as we upload a new video. And if you want to check a bouquet of courses that we provide, so we have a huge variant of courses from customizability to full preparation. You can check our website www.mathoratory.com. I'll leave the link in the description below. And have an enjoyable preparation ahead. Welcome to the Math Oratory family and have a good exam ahead.